This is Crypto 101, the birth of crypto. So let's get into it. Today's agenda consists of the financial crisis of 2008, just a quick history lesson on what it is and what was going on at the time. Then we'll get into fractional reserve banking and how it played a role in the financial crisis. Then we'll transition over into the birth of Bitcoin. And finally, we will end this video with a summary on everything we discussed in today's video. So starting off with the financial crisis, it really started in 2007, peaked in 2008, and ended in 2009. What was going on, or what caused it, one of the symptoms that caused it was essentially there was a fall in U.S. housing prices in the U.S. housing market, alongside the rise of borrowers, or the number of borrowers that were unable to pay their mortgages. During this time, banks were extremely predatory. They had what was called subprime loans that essentially targeted individuals who, under normal circumstances, would not be able to qualify for a conventional home loan, like an FHA or any other conventional home loan. So yeah, they basically created a whole new product to target this group of individuals. There's definitely some responsibility on both sides as far as, paying your bills on time, but also being, financially savvy enough to look into the pros and cons of taking out a loan such as this. But I really put the onus on the banks, because I'm pretty sure most of these people did not know the terms and conditions that came with a loan such as a subprime loan. I mean, these loans literally targeted people who either had terrible credit, no credit at all, or didn't have enough credit history to justify, loaning them money for the purchase of a home. So definitely putting the onus more so on the banks than anything. But this financial crisis led to, what I would say would be, like modern day bank failures. You saw two major bank failures, two notable bank failures in the Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. Lehman Brothers, essentially the U.S. government just refused to bail them out. They were eventually bought out by Barclays, which is why you no longer hear about Lehman Brothers. Their assets were absorbed into Barclays. And then in terms of Bear Stearns, the U.S. Federal Reserve actually loaned J.P. Morgan Chase $30 million to buy Bear Stearns out. So you don't hear about Bear Stearns anymore. But ultimately, there was, like I said, several bank failures, not just those two that I mentioned, but all of this was caused by a liquidity crisis. Banks didn't have the money when people would try and go and withdraw money from their bank accounts, which obviously eroded trust in banks and, like I said, created a liquidity crisis event, which leads us into our next topic, which is fractional reserve banking. And all this is a system that allows banks to only keep a small percentage of customer deposits on hand, and then turn around and utilize the larger percentage of those deposits in either other investments, or they lend that money out to turn a profit. Quite literally, banks are not required to keep all that money on hand for one reason or another. So, like I said, when customers would go to try and withdraw that money from their bank accounts, the banks would be like, we don't have it. And they would have to scramble to get it. That's why even today, before you can withdraw a large amount of money, you have to kind of give the bank a notice so that they know to have that amount of money on hand, which I find hilarious. The common person does not know that, that's how the banking system works, right? When you pull up your banking app, you see a certain amount of money in either your checking account, your savings account, whatever account type of account you have with these institutions. And you expect for that amount of money to be reserved for you in a bank somewhere, right? But that's not actually the case. So, when you go to try and withdraw your money, especially during this time, and you're told that the bank doesn't have it, that can cause a panic. So you can see why, you know, people lost trust in banks. What do you mean you don't have my money? I'm looking at my bank account right here. You have my money. Where's my money? And fractional reserve banking can present a major issue for banks when, especially when, you know, people come in droves to withdraw their money because, it's not really at the bank. It's in other vehicles, investment vehicles. It's being loaned out to other individuals. And, in the case of the great financial crisis, when you have so much money loaned out to individuals who are not paying it back, creates, an issue. So, like I said, banks at the time were lending excessively to people who, under normal circumstances, they wouldn't have. They had a huge appetite for risk at the time for one reason or another, which, again, played a key role in the great financial crisis. So, fast forward through all of that, you have the birth of Bitcoin. When you look this up, you may come across several different dates, but the common date that I found was October 31st, 2008. This was when the Bitcoin white paper was released to the public. It was authored by an individual by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, nobody knows who Satoshi is. Nobody has laid eyes on Satoshi. This could be an individual, or it could be an alias or a group of people. Nobody knows. But we did get the Bitcoin white paper, which essentially inspired the digital asset market that we know today. The Bitcoin white paper introduced peer-to-peer transactions, payments, also introduced other potential use cases for the future. But ultimately, it inspired this new way of doing things in terms of money. In my opinion, it's, what, inspired some of the applications we use today, like Apple Pay, Venmo, Cash App, you name it, those types of applications. That is a form of peer-to-peer payment. Probably not on the decentralized side of things, but the spirit is there. So to summarize all of this, to sum it up, the great financial crisis definitely spawned widespread mistrust in banks. You saw several bank failures due to banks being illiquid. And of course, thanks to the fractional reserve banking system, and the fact that banks were so heavy on risky moves with subprime loans, and the fact that the individuals that they loaned this money out to under this program were not paying their mortgages on time, were not paying their loans back at all. This created a problem for banks. Enter Satoshi Nakamoto, who introduced the world to Bitcoin as a potential solution for something like the great financial crisis to never happen again. Like I said, Bitcoin is no longer the only digital asset. You have thousands of crypto tokens out there, with multiple different utilities, multiple different use cases, some for payments, some for not. Things spawned out of this, such as like smart contracts and other different technologies related to blockchain. But ultimately, this is the story of how Bitcoin came about. All right, so that's that. This was my YouTube debut, so be sure to let me know how I did on my first YouTube video down in the comment section. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and all feedback is welcome. So definitely be sure to let me know how I did on my first video in the comment section. I definitely plan on turning crypto basics like this into a series to help educate on the building blocks of the digital asset space. I know there's a lot of interest in the investment side of things, but you really got to start with some of the basic level building blocks before you can start understanding some of the more abstract and advanced ideas, especially when it comes to investing, what to look for, what's hot, what's not, things of that nature in this space. So stay tuned for our future videos. I'm definitely excited to continue to produce more content that helps educate people around what crypto is, what the digital asset space is, and how to get exposure to it. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.